Hi everyone, we welcome you all to this Week Tech Tuesday webinar on ingest and replicate applications data in minutes. Today's speaker is Om Verma, who's a Senior Product Manager. Before we start the session, let's go through some of the housekeeping tips. The webinar is for 1 hour that includes 15 minutes Q&A. You can post your queries in Q&A box which will be answered at the end of the presentation. All participants will be muted during the presentation. The session will be recorded and it will be available on our InfraSupport YouTube channel and Success Portal where you can download the slide deck. Please feel free to submit your suggestion or feedback for the session in the post-webinar survey. The Success Portal is a microlearning platform that offers free, unlimited learning to all the registered users. This feature-rich platform helps you learn and adopt to Informatica products better. The following are few important links that you can go over later. This will help you in your product adoption journey with Informatica. Over to you, Om. Thank you.
Thanks, Harshita. So coming to the agenda for today's discussion, we are going to be discussing what are the typical cloud data warehousing data lake challenges organizations face, and the typical data integration market drivers, which will be followed by reference architecture for any customer's cloud data warehousing data lake journey. Then we will segue into and introduce Informatica Cloud Mass Ingestion Service. Then we'll come over to CMI applications, which is the main agenda for today's session. We'll give a demo and then we'll discuss quick summary and call to action. Now, the key data integration market drivers. We are and we have been observing an unprecedented growth in the data diversity and volume. And almost all of the organizations want to operationalize their data. They want to come up with data-backed decisions. However, there are many issues which needs to be addressed, such as the variety of data types we have, right? The volume of data which is being generated on a daily basis. Data engineers are hard to find, and every day we are seeing a new kind of user persona who want to interact with data. For example, business users. Increasingly, business users want to play with the data themselves, but they lack that specific skill set, right? So these are some of the market drivers. Now coming to the challenges which organizations face on their data integration initiative. First one is complexity. Almost 75% of the organizations, they use point solutions, and those are not future ready. Means they are not compatible for emerging use cases such as AI, ML, and they're not very easily interoperable with other existing solutions. 80% of the organizations also say that their data practitioners spend almost 80% of the time in preparing the data. Instead, that amount of data should have been spent in analyzing the data, right? Now, second challenge is resource constraints. Data engineers or software engineers are hard to find. They're very expensive. And statistically speaking, there has been 50% increase year on year in the number of open data engineering positions. And third is cost overruns. Almost 75% of the organizations say that they are exceeding their budgeted cost for respective data management or data integration initiative. Now, any data management program comprised of various stages or use cases. For example, any organization may have variety of data sources. Now, the first challenge becomes, okay, do we know which all data assets we have? So that comprise of discovery part means, are we able to discover those assets? Are we able to catalog those assets? Then, okay, once we have found what I want, are we able to ingest and replicate? Once ingested and replicated, how do we know that, okay, that data is of good quality? We may need to massage it. We may need to apply certain transformations to be able to make so that we can make it analytics ready or any use case ready. Then Similarly, we have governance mechanism in place. Means is our solution able to govern the data, and similarly mastering and securing the data are other aspects. Today, we are going to focus on the ingestion and replication part. That means, how do I get data from disparate sources in real time into targets of our choice? Now, this is how a typical cloud data warehousing or data lake architecture looks like. If we focus on the first part says we need to discover our assets. Uh, Once we have discovered, we should be able to catalog and govern those assets. Once we have identified what kind of data sources we have, we may want to ingest and replicate what we can see in the point two. And now the target can be any data lake or any data warehouse. Then finally, if it is a streaming storage, we may want to apply stream processing. And finally, we want to provision the data for our end user use case. Today, as we discussed, we are going to focus on the ingestion and replication part, wherein we will talk about how do I get data from different type of sources onto any target. Right. So before we deep dive into cloud mass ingestion, we should also explore what are the key workarounds or what are the available workarounds currently. So first option can be hand coding. So this is one of the point-to-point solution approaches wherein we write manual projects for data ingestion from specific source. Now, since this includes heavy skill set, right? So it's very expensive. And as, for example, if you want to replicate data from Salesforce, right? Salesforce is an emerging ecosystem. We may want to create more and more objects, right? So hence the source itself is changing, right? So what it means is we need to maintain our program to be able to cope up with the changes happening in different sources, right? Hence it's very expensive in long run. Another workaround can be, okay, we can use out of the box solutions which are available in market. But the problem there we see is they do not support all of the ingestion patterns. For example, a vendor can be very good or a solution can be very good in for database or files replication, but they might be lacking streaming or application replication capability, right? So there is a need for a solution which can cater to almost all of the available data sources, and hence Informatica Cloud Mass Ingestion. So CMI essentially is very easy to use wizard-based service using which we can create replication pipelines in matter of minutes. We do offer versatile out-of-the-box connectivity for the range of source and targets. And yes, we do offer enterprise-grade capabilities such as real-time monitoring, lifecycle management, scheduling, etc. Now, coming to the key use case patterns for which CMI is used. First one is we want to hydrate our data lake, right? So we may want to ingest our data lake with application data, streaming data, database data, or any files data, right? So that is one ingestion pattern. Second is database, data warehouse replication or modernization projects. For example, we may want to modernize our existing data warehouse from SQL Server to Snowflake. That can be a use case. We may want to replicate data from one data warehouse to another data warehouse. That can be second category. And third is we want to ingest and synchronize the changes which are happening, and that too in real time, right? So CDC is very important component of it. And third is real-time analytics. We want to ingest log data, IoT data, CDC data in real time, right? So that's primarily for real-time analytics use cases. In nutshell, if you want to get data out from system A to system B, and follow ELT kind of approach, CMI is the way to go. Now, cloud mass ingestion services. As we discussed, there are different type of data sources from where we may want to ingest data. Accordingly, the same reflects in a design principle. So as we can see, there are 4 different chiclets. First one is application ingestion task, second is database ingestion task, third is file, and fourth is streaming. So we are going to discuss each of them individually in subsequent slides. Now, this brings us to mass ingestion applications, right? So this slide highlights average number of applications per customer by industry. Some of the key data points are, if you look into average number of applications deployed by large-scale enterprises, it's 150 plus. For smaller organizations, it's 50 plus. And if we look into the growth rate in terms of application adoption across verticals, it's 36% for professional services, healthcare, it's 19%. For retail, for finance and banking sector, it's 18%. For retail, it's 20+%. So the key inference of all these data points is increasingly organizations are trusting applications with their business critical functions, and they want to analyze that data so that they can further come up with data backed decisions. And hence, we have CMI applications. Using this service, we can easily ingest and replicate SaaS or on-prem application data to any targets of our choice, be it any cloud data lake, data warehouse, or messaging system target in real time. Some of the key use case patterns for which mass ingestion applications can be used, it's analytics and advanced analytics use cases, wherein we should be able to get data out of applications, identify the incremental changes or change data capture capability, and we should also be able to identify the schema changes happening in the source side and apply on the target in real time. So that is one broad category of use case. Second can be real-time process automation and operationalization. So what it means is we should be able to capture the changes happening in source system and propagate onto messaging systems in real time so that those changes can be further consumed by downstream systems for operationalization purposes. Some of the key features of application ingestion services, ability to identify changes happening in source system in real time and applying on the target. Secondly, schema drift capability, right? So we are able to identify the schema changes happening in various sources and apply on target again in real time. We'll discuss this in detail in our upcoming demo. Thirdly, it's a real-time monitoring capability. Now coming to some of the out-of-the-box native connectors, we see source side, we are seeing on the left-hand side, right-hand side indicates the target. Now, let's have a quick demo. So for the purpose of the demo, we have pre-built one task. So once you log in into IICS, we see these chiclets, right? So we'll click on mass ingestion. Once we click that, we will be in mass ingestion service scope. Now, if we click on new, we see 4 different kind of ingestion patterns. First one is application, then database, file, and streaming. Since we are talking about ingesting data from applications, we'll click here, application ingestion task. So once we do that, this wizard will open. So as we can see, it's 4-step wizard. So in first step, we'll provide some administrative properties such as what is the name of the task, what is the secure agent or runtime environment. We'll provide a brief introduction, then what kind of load type we want for this job, right? So there are 3 kind of load types. First one is initial load. What it means is hey, give me one-time replication or one-time copy of this source application. Secondly, second type is incremental load. If we choose this, then we will be able to get all the changes happening in that in respective source. And third, it's initial and incremental load. What it means is it will start replicating one-time copy of the application. And as soon as the data gets replicated, the task will automatically switch over into incremental mode or change data capture mode. So we'll select this. Now we'll click on next. Now in this tab, we have to identify or choose which source I want to get the data out of, right? So there's a drop down, we chose Salesforce. Now we support multiple APIs for Salesforce replication. We'll choose bulk V2. Now, secondly, we come at object selection, right? Depending on a business requirement, we may want to either get entire data set out, entire set of objects out of Salesforce, or we may want to get selective set of objects, right? So hence we have two options, select all and rule-based selection. So we have pre-created one rule which says, okay, let me just quickly show that. So if we want to create a selective selection rule for objects we want to ingest, so we'll click on object. Now for object selection, we have two broad categories, include and exclude, right? So let's click on include. Now include lead, right? Lead star. So we do support wildcard pattern. We'll click on add rule. So far we have created two rules, include account, include lead, right? So it will bring all of the matching objects from Salesforce. We can increase or decrease the priority based on business decisions. So let's delete lead, right? In advanced, we provide the CDC interval configuration. So we may choose to keep the CDC interval frequency in days, hours, or minutes. So let's keep it 1 minute for now. Then we provide the fetch size for initial incremental load, etc. Then we'll click on next. Now this brings us to the target selection. So to which target do we want to replicate the data into, right? So we have already pre-created one connection for Snowflake, so it's there. So by default, we create targets in the, we create tables in the target. Then we'll choose the schema. Then we'll provide a staging area. Apply mode is, do we want to keep it in standard or soft delete? Soft delete means it's a flag in each table, and it will be yes for all the deleted records. So let's keep it standard for now. Then table renaming rules. Using this capability, we can rename target tables. For example, if in source the name of the object is account, but in target I want to append this with demo underscore, or rather let's keep it this way. I want to rename all of the objects in source to demo underscore star pattern. Then we'll just create this rule, right? Then data type rules. Using this, we can create data type overriding rules. For example, I may want to convert integer to float in the target, so we can create those kind of rules. Then finally, we arrive at schema drift options. So if a field got added in Salesforce or any other source application, what do I want to do? Either I may want to ignore that change, replicate that change onto Snowflake. Either I may want to stop that job, or we may want to stop replicating that object itself, right? So it's highly configurable across different kind of schema changes options. So once we are done, we'll save, we'll deploy it, and we'll run it, right? So as we saw, we can easily create data replication pipeline in a matter of minutes. Otherwise, it may have taken multiple weeks of efforts, right? So that's the power of CMI applications. All right. So this brings us to the concluding part of our session today. So why cloud mass ingestion service? There are many reasons. Some of the key highlights are first on the speed at which we can build the ingestion and replication tasks. Uh, some time back, we saw how easy it is to build Salesforce to Snowflake replication tasks, right? It's just a matter of few clicks, and that's all possible because of our result-driven approach uh, for creating the tasks. Second is the simplicity, right? So it does not matter what kind of sources or target combinations we are dealing with. The way we have designed the services, keeping business users in mind, right? So it does not matter if our source is of type any application, a database, or file, or streaming. The process remains the same. Its wizard-driven approach can be used by any user, any business user to be able to create the ingestion task. But is scale. This service supports any data latency, any data pattern at scale. And finally, the flexibility to track, capture, and update changes. By default, we have baked in change data capture capability and schema drift application capability in our service. So in nutshell, CMI is cloud native solution with out of the box connectivity to different kind of different sources or targets. Its wizard driven approach is really easy to use, and we do offer enterprise grade capabilities such as real time monitoring and enterprise lifecycle management, etc. We do offer 30 days trial for CMI service. Please register for the trial using this URL. And yes, this brings us to the conclusion of our session today. And we really did not need entire 1 hour for the session, as it's super easy to use. We can build the replication or ingestion tasks in a matter of minutes, few clicks. And yeah, so we are open for questions now. Uh,
Hi all. Today's presenter of this webinar, Om Verma, was not able to make it to Q&A session. However, we have Virendra and Pravakar who would help in answering your queries. Any unanswered queries will be taken offline and would be addressed through email. So kindly post your questions. Do we have any more questions? All right, we don't see any questions coming through. So we will end the webinar. First of all, thank you, Dhirendra and Prabhakar, for taking your time in addressing queries. And we kindly request our audience to take up the survey and let us know your thoughts. Today's webinar will be available tomorrow on Success Portal under the Resources tab. And you all have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, and if there are any specific questions further, maybe they can send their queries as well. That's perfectly fine. We will answer some of them offline as well if there are any further questions.
Yeah, sure, Dhirendra. Thank you.